Check, check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Welcome back to another episode of Karishma Connect. On this episode, I connected with Shraddha Barot, founder of White Label Media. Now, she's not just the founder of White Label Media, she's founded so many businesses, and it's extremely amazing to hear her journey. If there's a business 101, an entrepreneurship 101, or leading a right team, how to find the right team members, what to do to make the most out of your business, get the maximum results, how to deal with failure. I think all these topics are covered in one podcast, and that is this one with Shraddha. So go check it out. It might be a little longer than our usual ones, but it's extremely enlightening from start to finish, and that's why I think it's absolutely worth it. And of course, until the next one, I'll see you soon, because this is Karishma Connect and we are growing, and I'm super grateful to you all for that. Thank you. Thank you, Shraddha, for joining me today on this call. It's a pleasure to have you on Karishma Connect, and I'm super, super happy and super, super excited to hear your story and everything that's coming with it. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm sipping my nice morning cup of chai, and it's just like I'm gonna have a nice conversation.
Absolutely. That's exactly what this is. It's just a nice conversation, a nice chat about everything that you do, how you do it, why you do it, and what makes you feel good about it. And that's exactly where my first question comes on this show, which is it's a free dive. It's tell me about your passions. What's your vibe? How did you start, where you are, what's special about it, and what makes it the best place to be?
Wow. I mean, I'll try to keep it as short as I can, but possibly my story is a bit different from other entrepreneurs in a way that I knew from a very young age that I wanted to do business. So from as early as maybe what I remember, like when I was 10 years old. I'm very commercially driven, so I would be like ready to participate in any events, anything that was available at school or uni or whatever it is to sell or make or something. I was there. Whereas my family are the exact opposite. They're full of scholars. So my dad is a gold medalist engineer. My mom used to be a teacher. My sister also used to be a teacher. So they never saw that coming, and I had good grades in school, so they thought that I'll also go the engineering or medicine or all of that line. But having said that, since I knew I wanted to do business, I managed to convince them that I would like to go the commerce path, but I just didn't know what. I just didn't know. It took me a long time to realize a lot of like trials and errors and heartbreaks and losing money, losing time, getting over it emotionally, all of that. A lot of failures that led me to where I am today. And I didn't. When you're young, it's obviously a bit difficult on you, because you see like your friends are traveling around the world, and I didn't even have money to like go to some of the weddings that I was invited to, or like buy new outfits, because everything that I was doing, I was putting in the money into the business or whatever I was trying to do, or trying to recover from the losses that I was making through the failures over the years. So I think one thing I do want to share through my story is that just to be kind to yourself. And it's okay, like it doesn't have to be that you figured out from the day one and your first business idea is the successful one, and the first thing that you do is the is what makes you a lot of money or something like that. It's okay to fall down and get up, and as long as you get up and you get over it, it's okay. So yeah.
And how did you keep going when you fell down and got up? What was your motivation to kind of be able to do that all over again every time?
Somehow for me, it was my gut feeling. I've always been quite intuitive, and telling me that, this is not it yet. And my parents, thankfully are very supportive. I was lucky to meet my husband very young as well. We've been very close friends since I was 19. So that always thing was that, the question that came back to me always was, what is the worst that can happen? That you'll have to take up a job, business world is not for you, and that's it. That's the worst that can happen, right? And I was like, yeah, actually, that's the worst that can happen. So if you think of it that way, it put things into perspective, and you try not to be so harsh on yourself, and be like, okay, let me try, one more time. And when you're younger, you don't have the responsibilities or the liabilities, so it's slightly easier to take on the risk. And you're okay with living in sharing apartment with a couple of friends, and not really going to big fancy places or traveling or things like that. So you make do with whatever little money you have, and it's okay.
True. And tell me something, and this is one of the most loved questions on my show. Like everybody tells, I actually sat and thought how to do this question because
Nice.
it's if you were explaining what you do to a 5-year-old, how would you do it? And what would you say to them?
So I have to do that to my almost 4-year-old quite on a regular basis, because she's like, Mommy, why are you going to the office? And like, thankfully there are so many mothers and working mothers openly talking about how they convey what they do to their kids. Because sometimes, obviously, I mean, there is no life book to parenting. There are a lot of, obviously, books and education, all of that, but no matter how much you study or take courses or whatever, it is still nothing prepares you. Every child is very different, every mother is very different, everyone's circumstances are so different. But one thing that really struck with me was that for kids, monetary or anything material is never something that gets them excited. They always want the time of their parents and valuable time of their parents. So there were other mothers that quite openly said that, to not really say that you're doing this for the money, because then ultimately their kids came back and said that, Mommy, I don't want any toys, I don't want to buy anything, you just come and stay with me and spend time with me. But thankfully for me, it's never been about the commercial reasons. It has come naturally through the process. And I always tell my daughter that Mommy makes beautiful things that makes others and herself happy, and that's kind of what I do.
That's lovely.
Because we are into creative industry, so my company, as one of the companies that as White Label Media, or most of my businesses, I'm responsible for the creative aspect and the building aspect and stuff like that. So generally it comes from a lot of it's something that really makes me very, very happy, and thankfully through the work that we do, makes our clients happy as well. So yeah.
And tell me something about those businesses for the listeners who are listening. How did you start them? What were the challenges and opportunities along the way? What's been the need factor for these several?
Sure. So I started my first company when I was 21, which was a real estate company, because I worked in real estate back in the day. Being a finance graduate, it led me from a promotional job at L'Oreal, which I hated. I didn't really enjoy that. Then I tried to find something else, and real estate is something that I really, really enjoyed, which was 2006 to 2008. However, when I opened my first real estate company at 21, is when exactly in 6 months, the market crashed.
At that time, how did you
Yes.
confidence to? I mean, that is something because that's the time you're like still figuring out things, right?
True. I was still lost, and I was like, you know what? Let me just try this. And it's something I'm enjoying. I've heard people say, or whatever little books I've read, it says that, if you can find a business that you enjoy, or to do something that you make money from that you enjoy, then it's a pathway to success, let's say. So I was like, okay, real estate is something I enjoy. Let me open a company. I took up an office and had a business partner and team and furniture, and boom, 6 months, the market crashed very badly. The 2008 recession was was really bad in Dubai. Plus the market was very unregulated. So also at the age of 21, I felt quite scared, because there was not a lot of government bodies involved and all of that. So I was like, me being an expat in a foreign country, if I get caught into something illegal, it's the last thing that I want. So I was like, okay, now what? And during that time, there were a lot of construction sites and a lot of construction happening all around UAE. And one thing I noticed was And these are like my people. These are Indians, Pakistanis, Bangladeshis, Sri Lankans, who are majority working at these, construction sites. So I just noticed that the quality of food that they were being given was very, very poor. And, it's just something that really made me feel that uh, that's not fair. Even though it's simple food, like I grew up eating very simple food. Dal chawal is what makes me the happiest. I don't need a Michelin star restaurant food. That's like, I'll always choose that. Between the two, I'll always choose the dal chawal or rajma chawal over Michelin star any day. So I was like, it's simple food. There's no need. It's already quite a tough job that they do. It's long working hours. It's very harsh working conditions. So at least if they can have access to good food, food I think is a common factor that makes most people happy. And that's led to my second company, which was an industrial catering business. So we were supplying 25,000 meals every day to different construction sites. And my pride and glory was that all of us whoever was the owner or the management, including management of those construction companies, used to eat from the same kitchen. So there was no disparity, that there was better food being cooked for people higher in the hierarchy, and then a different food being cooked for the workers. So that was very personally satisfying. That was great. That I ran that for about 2 years. But it got boring very quickly. It was very male dominated, and you sign a yearly contract and you're done. And I was like, I'm still very young. I need to spend more time doing something else that keeps me really occupied. I have all the time in the world right now. And that's when us and the same partners, we decided to buy a luxury marketing agency from UK. It was an affinity marketing concept wherein we bring 2 or 3 luxury brands together for a collaboration, and you tap into each other's databases and network. And the world of marketing always interested me. So I was like, okay, let me, see how this goes. This sounds interesting. But what was very interesting at that point, Karishma, was that by that time I was still, making the money. I had made some decent money through real estate, which I put through into these 2 businesses and all of that. But also then that real estate company that shut down, I lost some of them during that time. But I was very new to the world of luxury. So, normally the events that I was attending as a, fresh from India, small town girl, to the brands I was, looking at and having access to. And it was very overwhelming, but, I hadn't traveled anywhere except Dubai at that time. So also like participating in conversations with really high net worth individuals and all of that. My real estate training came in a little bit of handy, because I was dealing with, wealthy, affluent individuals during that time as well. But it was just like, whoa, I probably have taken more than I can chew.
I can imagine,
But still, like,
it's always a struggle. If even in a general scenario, you always face that little bit of, am I doing the right thing? Am I not doing the right thing? And
yes.
that to luxury PR and marketing, that's different. Social game altogether. It just becomes
Exactly. And the people who are here in this industry, they've been around for a very long time. They're very talented, very well known, and they themselves are quite affluent. Whereas in my case, I was just not yet there, like living in a fancy house or, having like really fancy clothes or things like that, or exposure into the world. And I hired a PR agency for the launch of the business, and we were paying quite a decent retainer to quite a large agency at that time. And I just felt that, they could obviously sense that I'm not from the same luxury background as the rest of the other maybe luxury business owners. And I felt that bit of a disparity in the way they treated me, and it just felt very copy paste, like we'll do this, we'll do that. Whereas I was like very young, I needed a lot of help, I needed a lot of hand holding. And that's when I was like, you know what, let me try to do PR on my own and see how hard can it be, because I just got really frustrated. Like I was paying around 12,000 dirhams retainer per month at that time, which is around 2009, 2010. It was a lot of money. It is my own money. It's not something that I've gotten from my parents or inherited or anything like that. So it just felt like, yeah, this is not how maybe things should work. And I started, doing PR for my company at that time, and I really loved it. And I think that's when it's really clicked in me, because whatever other businesses or work that I did till then was like, yes, I enjoyed it. It was good. But nothing really fulfilled me like the way the field of, the world of marketing and PR did. And I started doing it for other business owners. And I think it helped the fact that they know that I understand how much, sweat, blood, tears it takes to open a business and run it. And I always keep my finance hat on towards marketing PR. So even if, my clients could be multi-billionaires, they have multiple businesses, but I always look at it as a single unit, that if they have a restaurant, does that restaurant need to spend that much money on marketing or not? So it's very strategic, it's very ROI driven. And thankfully that took off really well. It's been 10 years now with White Label Media. We'll become an award-winning agency.
Wow.
Great clients, great campaigns, and I'm so grateful. It's something I enjoy and I love doing so much. Then came COVID, and all of a sudden I lost all my clients in April 2020. Prior to that 2020, like a couple of years ago, I had a short, let's say a slower down, experience to my business, because a very close family member was going through cancer, and then we lost him. So that time I had to choose between, do I keep on running and keep on chasing my goals, or I just slow down a bit and process, whatever has happened. And so I slowed down, and then also I had a baby. So I'd already kind of been a bit slower for the past couple of years, and then it's picked up again. I was back into the game and back into, getting it all ready, and came COVID. So the first few days was like a lot of, mental torture, like, oh my God, I've worked so hard, and it's been so many years of like hard work, and now suddenly everything is gone. But everyone was in the same boat, so that helped. So it wasn't like it was me, or I did something wrong. From then, it kind of gave me a stop for the first time as an entrepreneur, because I was like always on the go, like, let's do this, let's do that, let's, work on this idea. And COVID gave me the blessing of thinking, what else can I do that I haven't done so far? Because White Label seems settled, and hopefully, this is just a temporary phase and we will come out of it. So I had already started toying the idea of e-commerce and digital just prior to 2020 COVID, 2-3 months ago. And I was like, digital is the future, e-commerce is the future. Let me try and, do something there. So I had an e-commerce business idea, but again, I have known over the years that I speak to web development companies, and they speak a language I don't understand. It's like, oh no, I need someone who can like really guide me and explain me like, a layman person, how this whole thing works. Because any web developer and all of these guys I go to, like, I don't understand what's happening. So I met a consultant through a female business networking platform called Female Fusion. She's my business partner now, Aishwarya Chari. So I hired her as a consultant, help me. She's amazing. She really knows the world of technology. She knows how to speak to you and explain to you. Because her story is also similar. She has been an e-commerce business owner multiple times and then became a consultant. So she again understands the whole journey and process, and including emotional, financial, everything that you go through as an entrepreneur. So great, but then came COVID, so I had to stall that, stop the services. But we got along really well, and we felt that there was a great niche that we could build on together. Expert in all things functionality and technology. So she sees everything in a very rational way, whereas my mind is totally crazy. I come from that, entrepreneurial background and marketing, PR, branding. So I see colors and I see visuals, and something that she just does not enjoy. And the world of technology in terms of functionality and all of that is something I don't have awareness of, nor do I enjoy. So we're like, okay, let's join together. And, we created 1115, which is the end-to-end e-commerce and any digital business advisory firm. Both of us have been multiple business owners. So we're able to understand, again, our clients and, their journey and what the requirements are. and we are truly unbiased. So today, if you go to any web development company, you tell them I want to open a digital business, they'll be like, okay, let's do Shopify or Magento or WordPress or WooCommerce or things like that. But where we are is that we have skilled teams for every possible technology that you can imagine. And we advise based on what your business needs are. So first understanding the budget, your team structure, what is your goal, what are the plans, and then technology is the last bit that comes into the picture. Then the Nameless Network was born during COVID as well. One of my first team members, she was actually my second team member in the business 10 years ago, Zareen. She that time joined part-time because she was still doing her master's, and got promoted pretty quickly to head of digital. Then, went on to work for GMG Group, which has Nike and all some really amazing brands. Even there, got promoted very quickly as head of digital. And during COVID, I think all of us, we were questioning, our lives and our careers and everything. So she's like, I want to quit the corporate life and I want to go and work for an NGO and I want to leave Dubai. And I was like, what? You're 28. You're not leaving me and going anywhere. You're not leaving the city. You're just feeling the burnout.
Yes.
So by that time, White Label had grown to an extent and the digital world had really grown. So while we were doing organic social media and pretty feeds and content, but we were lacking in terms of performance marketing and analytics and data and all of it. And that's what Zareen really learned in her 4 years at GMG Group. She had access to a lot of senior teams and senior resources and all of that. And I was like, it will be great if I can offer that to my clients, which are SMEs, because you don't, again, have access to that kind of knowledge unless you're a massive brand and you have big budgets to spend on social media. So she's now my business partner on the digital business, which is the Nameless Network. So that's 1115 Nameless Network, White Label, and then a passion project was born, which is and Tony, named after my daughter Antonia. We call her Tony. And my best friend, her daughter's name is Rihanna, so that's where the Re comes from. And that's, I think, the good Jew in me was like, I've always done service businesses. Where is a dhanda? Where is like, I need to sell something. I need to sell. So that's when, like, we curate, we work with manufacturers from India. India is very close to my heart. I grew up there. So it is, again, trying to give back to the country in some way. The artisans are amazing. Slowly, because of the way how fast everything is moving, the handwork is slowly diminishing, which is very sad. But we want to keep that work alive of the artists and handwork and that beautiful work that you see that we grew up in India, surrounded ourselves with, and really, market that. So we're all about bringing artisan home products to the Middle East. That's been 2 years now as well, growing slowly at a steady pace. It's totally new again, so it's great learning, and that's what really excites me. I think that's what really gets me into new businesses, very frankly. It's the fact that I can learn something new and I can get access to a completely different field. Because as an entrepreneur, like you train your team, you spend time with them, you mentor them, but who trains you? Who gives you the access to new information or knowledge or mentors you? So this is kind of my way of learning different things.
Because you start from scratch and everything, and there's so many businesses running, how do you first of all manage everything? How do you manage your life? How do you manage to have a life apart from this kind of, I mean, of course, it's also exciting, passionate and everything, but how do you kind of balance it out in your journey?
So I worked very, very long hours for the longest time. And again, because it's something that I love what I do, it generally never felt like, oh gosh, I'm working so long. It also really helps to have a very understanding and supportive partner. He doesn't expect me to be the traditional wife and to have time for cooking or things like that, or he understands that when I'm in the work zone and I'm in the work zone, I might be working like crazy hours, and but he sees how happy and fulfilled I am doing what I'm doing. But having our daughter really brought that balance to my life, because with her, and that's why I'm actually sitting in her room for this call, because
It's a lovely
it's
background.
nice.
Constant.
Thank you. Thank you. So, when I'm with her, I keep my phone away, I keep my laptop away. She makes sure that I keep it away, but also I consciously, keep my gadgets away. So it's a forced break from work, which is really nice. And I many times come home like exhausted, but I spend that 1.5 hour with her or something before she goes to sleep, and making her go to sleep and all of that. And I'm like totally refreshed and recharged. And then weekends is when we take her out, and all of that, and it's usually like in the fresh air or doing something that is very different and not in front of my screen. So that again really refreshes me. I get a good break. I spend some good hours not thinking about work and all of that. So I always ensured that no matter how busy I was, I try to find the time to do things that I enjoy apart from work as well. So yes, the work is a lot of happiness and the majority happiness for me. But I love nature. I love going out. I love traveling. So work-life integration, I won't say balance, but integration, is something that's really helped that. And thinking that the blessing that I have as a mother, that if my daughter is not well, I can go later to work, or I can start my day later if I've been awake all night with her, and I can be around for her first day of school and her first vaccination and all of that. So it's thinking about those blessings that really helps me keep sane, and looking at the positive side, that yes, I have a crazy schedule, but also I take the time to go out with my friends, or with my daughter, with family. Earlier, before having a child, we used to travel a lot, like literally every month. I was trying to catch up from my earlier years that I didn't have the money to travel. And that again was great, because I was, able to work remotely at the same time, be in a new country and enjoy a new country, and get exposure to all of that. So I've tried always to make time for other things as well. So that kind of keeps me sane. And also, I think being kind to myself, I've tried to not, be in that rat race and look at the competitors and be like, oh my gosh, they have like very big offices and so many people and they have so many clients. And I think the moment you start thinking that is when it kind of starts getting to you. So
Yeah.
I've tried to, follow my schedule. If I felt like I needed to take a break, I took a break. If I felt like I'm okay to travel, then I'll travel. But it doesn't matter if there are people winning awards, maybe growing faster than I'm growing, but at least I'm happy, So, yeah.
You think that's what makes a successful business then?
I think so. Like, I feel the leadership, especially when you have a leader who is fulfilled, is happy, is healthy, is when you have a great team as well, and you're able to think calmly and able to lead your team in a way that they also feel happy at work. And a lot of mental health has got a lot to do with being an entrepreneur and running a business and all of that. So I think it's so important that if you're happy, then it reflects in your work, and it reflects how you treat your people or how you treat your clients or things like that. So yeah.
Very true. And your website says, do what you love and love what you do from the get-go. That's the first impression that I had ever since. What
Yes.
are that journey can be difficult along the way with multiple factors.
True.
And what is something that you've learned out of that journey first? And what are the kind of challenges you've faced and you've kind of combated along the way? You may have answered this in your question so far, but just as a highlight.
I think boundaries it gets difficult when you love what you do. I have to, be mindful of how many hours I'm working and making sure to take time for my workouts. And the same thing with clients as well. You want to do more, you want to give more, but sometimes, also you have to again protect your team, protect yourself, as to also being fair with everyone's time and resources, and making sure that the business is profitable as well. Because that's where often the lines get blurred. when you love what you do.
Because you get so involved, and I completely resonate.
Yes,
It's the same with me. You get so involved that you just don't know where's the line, where's the ending.
exactly, exactly.
Everything.
Exactly. You have to, ultimately think that end of the day, these are your clients. Yes, you think of them as family. But then again, this is not your business, so I have to always stop myself and be like, it's okay, like relax. You've done what you've done, and now just like step back. So this making sure that you always keep boundaries all around, and not get affected too much by things and taking things personally. This is something also I've had to tell the team, because when you get feedback, on work and things like that, I'm like, don't take it personally. It's work, but because it's creative work, you tend to first take
Yeah.
it a bit harshly on yourself, that, oh, maybe I didn't do it properly, or I didn't know, or so. It's constantly trying to have pep talks in front of the mirror. It's okay.
You are your own pep talk.
Yes.
It's not like you have a colleague or somebody who's, I mean, of course you have somebody who's with you, but you're always your own pep talk. I think that's the best pep talk you can get.
Yeah, true. It's very lonely at the top. I always say that, you praise your team and you tell, that they're doing a great job, and they obviously get appraisals or bonuses or, salary raises or things like that. But for the business owners, is always a bit, partners, they try to support your husband and wife, they try to, but they don't understand the intricacies of running your company. So again, sometimes you need to make decisions. You're like, man, what do I do? I'm not supposed to know everything. I need help.
Tell me, in today's times, now you've worked with multinationals also, right? You've seen that.
Correct.
And then you're
Mm.
working with small businesses. How is it different? And because I'm sure it comes with a lot of, you have to be very resilient. You also have to be able to think that, okay, I am supporting you. You can't look down upon this side of things, that's because there are people who kind of look down if, oh, you're a multinational and you're a small business. So what has been the difference? And then how have you kind of treated them equally at every level?
Sure. Yeah, thankfully we've been pretty lucky to work from, very large global brands, celebrities, to small, medium-sized businesses. And I think it's that feeling of, or the sentiment of having empathy goes a long way, no matter what you do, whether it is business or personal relationships or friendships or things like that. We're always so, and I've done that mistake, when something is said, you're quite quick to jump to a conclusion, make a judgment about someone or a situation. But in fact, you don't know what is happening in the background for a lot of people. So really looking at from a human level really helps. So even if, it's large organization, I see that often they have their own challenges and their own struggles. And from a small business perspective, again, they have completely different challenges and set of, let's say, objectives that they want to achieve. So with the team, thankfully, keeps that. I always say that the best way to work is to keep that small business owner mindset on, and say that, to be able to adapt to any situation and troubleshoot and move on, and not really dwell on a situation for longer. Sometimes it can be a bit like, when you're working with celebrities or large brands, like, oh my God, this is what's happening. But then when you look at it from a human level, that end of the day, everyone shares a similar mindset of, is that they want to be respected, they want to be treated fairly and with kindness. And I think if you take that approach, then you can overall get through any situation quite easily. So yeah.
And you've worked across media industries, right? You've also worked cross borders. What do you think makes this place unique from all the other countries in the world? What do you think makes Dubai unique for business owners and for the media industry in specific as well?
So for me, it's the experience of so many different nationalities, because I think what happens with other countries is, because you get citizenship and passport, and you start also for us, like UAE is home, but you tend to adapt, let's say, to the values, to the culture, to the traditions of that said country, because you feel like, okay, now I'm a citizen. But here everyone is so individual in their personalities. It's very expat driven. I never dreamt that I'm going to marry someone outside my city, but I've married a Romanian. We are totally different in everything you can possibly imagine.
Yeah.
so, so that was very refreshing. It's very, very refreshing to learn from other cultures. It's such a huge exposure. And it's just great for any business owner, because you get to learn so much from so many different people, how they do business, how is their upbringing, what are their values, how do they talk, what happens in their country, what are the words they use. So you get a lot of growth because of that, because you get to learn from so many different people. And that's something I feel so grateful, even for my daughter, that she has so many different friends from so many different nationalities. And you don't really look at caste or color or creed or religion. The relationships are formed beyond all of that. And for business, in terms of the number one thing that made me stay here, because initially I was supposed to be in the UK for my master's and all of that, was the safety for women is so much. It's a very, very safe country. I've had so many examples. I'll have to do another call for that, to tell you the stories that I've had in terms of how safe I felt with the police here and stuff like that. They're always there to protect. The laws are quite helpful in terms of, now, ever since COVID, especially, the government has come up with a lot of low-cost trade licenses. They have removed the local sponsorship, so I no longer have a local sponsor. I'm 100% owner of my company, even though my company is not in the free zone. So they've taken a lot of initiatives to help business owners. Plus, you get to enjoy multiple nationalities, but also you get to live your culture and traditions. So I celebrate my festivals along with the other festivals that happen of my husband or my friends or my colleagues. So it's a really nice environment to be in. The infrastructure is great. The level of service in terms of hotels and all of that, like, we're totally spoiled. So I didn't realize that until I traveled outside Dubai, and I was like, oh my God. So I was like, I can stay for a month, but then after that, I miss Dubai, and I want to come back to my little bubble where everything is nice and pretty.
Be it your clients or be it even other across all the businesses, how do you manage to stay relevant for such a long time? How do you for that?
What has really, really helped me since I was very young, because being a small town girl, I didn't have a lot of exposure growing up, but my parents gave me that exposure through books. And I've always been into reading, and it doesn't have to be, I don't have the time, unfortunately, to read fiction books anymore, but I'm always into learning, reading. I barely watch any TV at all. Most of the times, I always remove the Netflix subscription. I get it on when I'm sick and I'm on bed and I need to watch some TV. But usually it's a lot of reading. It's a lot, and now social media has made it so easy to get access to so much of information for free or at a very low cost. So it's constantly being, aware of what's happening, keeping that mindset of, I don't know everything, and I definitely don't know everything. So I am learning constantly from my colleagues, from my team, from my partners, from my mentors. And we have the pleasure of working with a lot of young people. So again, it's seeing the world through their eyes. They help me keep relevant, So I get to know a few cool words every now and then, and all of that. Or they'll tell me that this is uncool, Shraddha, like that's it. Don't say that again.
And so tell me, if you are into reading, since you said that, so tell me one book that every business owner must read, or even aspiring business owner must read.
I follow Robin Sharma a lot. I had attended, his masterclass when he was in Dubai. But again, the 5 a.m. club, I'm not there yet. I'm trying to join every now and then, but again, with the toddler, it gets very, very difficult, because, like, let's say when she joined nursery in September, she's been sick on and off. and then like newborn or pregnancy and all of that. So I'm not at the 5 a.m. club. And it's also being okay with that, like read and know, and you don't necessarily have to blindly follow what everyone says. You have to find you're happy as well, what keeps you excited. So I love his books. I love Guy, Vaynerchuk, in terms of the way he handles social media and media as well. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. I'm not too sure. So similar or real life stories of people, whether they're sportsmen or politicians, or it's always very interesting to read those, because you kind of get again a bit of a learning from their life and what happened with them in their situation and how they handle that situation. Really helps. So time and again, I always try to look for those kind of biographies and stuff like that. A very interesting thing one of my business coaches told me was that, well, because I was questioning something that my competitors were doing or something like that, and he's like, always think that whatever you are going through as a business owner, your competitor is going through exactly the same challenges. It just would be that, it's how we grew up hearing that richer people have bigger problems. So that's the only thing. The bigger the company, the bigger the problems might be. So it's just that, but it doesn't mean that they have it all perfect and great and smooth sailing. So yeah.
My last question to you is about, tell me, you have graduated in finance, you know about the industry, you've had so many business. What is your pro tip? Or it could be 3, it could be 1. What is your pro tip for investors today?
I would say cash is king. We realized that during COVID. So again, don't be into the rat race from the outset. And this, I have seen it firsthand, Karishma, where I've had large teams and large offices and large everything, but I was not necessarily profitable. So it's not always the case of someone having multiple offices and, big teams or things that they're necessarily profitable. You can be profitable even with a smaller operation, having, keeping your expenses in check. So no matter how big you become, always keep your cash flow intact. Stay away from, liabilities as much as you can. Or if you are taking any borrowings, then make sure that you're negotiating the rates. You're being mindful that how you're going to pay this back. So it's not an added stress on you as a business, because it's very easy to get tempted, like, oh, let me get a business loan, or let me get a business credit card, or, let me get an investor into my business to grow quickly. But I think you need to be fine with slow organic growth, and that it doesn't have to go from 0 to 100. It requires a lot of patience. When you're ambitious, I understand you want to do a lot, and it's a struggle that I've been through over the years, and trying to always be, like, calm myself down and take rational decisions that, no, I need to be sure of what I'm doing, and doesn't necessarily that project need to turn the way it needs to turn immediately. So it's okay to take your time, and I highly recommend that. Much rather take calmer decisions when it comes to money. Keep your costs low, even if you see that the business is growing and all of, and that really helped me through COVID, in terms of, we luckily didn't have barely any layoffs. A lot of the team, they were asked to work on or to go on an unpaid holiday, and they all thankfully came back. And whoever left, I was able to pay them with their end of service and all of that, because of the cash in the business, touch wood. So it's making sure that, you keep your head low, and try not to, especially this city, everything is so fancy and beautiful and glittery. And I always say that I live in a very humble neighborhood, because that's the apartment I could afford to buy, and I didn't want to pay any rent. And we bought this apartment just in 2019. And that's okay with me. I don't need to just necessarily say that, oh, because I own so many businesses, I need to live in a fancy neighborhood and take a big mortgage and take a massive loan, or, stuff like that. So it's just, end of the day, knowing that people who really care about you are your immediate family, and everyone else, they will be there when you have all the money and all the fame and all of that. And they're not really going to be there around for you if you're going to go into trouble, which usually happens with money. So just making sure that you handle your money very, very well. That's what I would say.
I think that's the best advice. And like I told you, it'll come back to me. This is what I
No
do.
problem. No worries.
The questions just come back to me. And what I wanted to ask was that, what do you think is the minimum duration? There's this popular, some people say it's 2 years, some people say it's 3 years. What according to you is the minimum duration, that struggle period with any business, that before it kind of hits off, and how you should like stick around to those? Because there have been multiple times, and I'll tell you this, even during this podcast, that we're gonna complete 3 years on 14th of Feb. But when I started it, there have been multiple times in between where I'm just like, why am I even doing this? What's the purpose?
Mhm.
And
Mm,
honestly,
mm,
this is more of a passion baby for me, that I wanted to keep the spirit of interviewing alive because I enjoyed it. And I want to
mm.
speak to people, just get to know, share their stories. But over time, you come across, like, the more you keep going, the more it kind of gets in the right direction. So that's what I wanted to
Mm.
understand. What do you think that duration is? Also, do you think there is a duration in the first place, or it's just a intuitive spell?
So I'm a huge believer in failing fast. So that's what happened with the other businesses, that the moment I felt was, I don't think this is going to work. I just didn't see a future in it anymore. Like in case of, let's say, the real estate company, yes, I could have kept it running and put my savings, but the market was just really, really bad. It would have been foolish for me to think that I can make this work and I can do this and, all of that. And I would have lost all the savings at that time. So it's just having that understanding that it's okay to fail fast and take that decision that I don't think this is going to work out. But at the same time, like a lot of my other friends that started their journey into the business world, we see now after 10 years that there is no overnight success. It's been a lot of trial error, failing, trial error, and that's what ultimately led us. But it's being okay to say that it's okay, this is not going to work, let me just get out of it. And I think that is something only you can say. And I think usually it is linked with how you're feeling running that business. Are you feeling personally motivated, fulfilled? Are you happy despite not making a salary for a while? Do you see a future in this business? Is it something that you can go on for a while? And then secondly, the moment you can at least start paying for your expenses. So you may not be able to make profit, but at least you can take care of you going out, buying a few clothes here and there, taking care of your lifestyle and not having to like borrow money or, pay through the cards or things like that, is when I would say you feel that, okay, I can, I'm almost at that first step. I can take care of my expenses bit. I may not be able to like, buy everything that I like, but at least I can run my life. Then, and you're happy and you're fulfilled and you're feeling good, then I would say, continue, keep going.
More power to you on that, really.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope that was helpful.
Absolutely. Every bit of this, and I'm telling you, this is something I can keep going on about. We've crossed our duration of time, and I'm sure you've got things to do as well. But
Yeah.
I strongly feel like I can keep going on with you, and I can ask so many
Thank
questions because it's
you. Yeah.
such an interesting chat. Thank you so much, Shraddha, for joining me, for making time today, and just for supporting me, because I know it. I've seen how it is, and it means a lot every time somebody supports in this journey. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I always say we've all been there and we are all a beginner somewhere in our life, something that we might be doing at that time. So for sure, thank you for your time as well, and thank you so much for having me.